GymWits, GymWits, if you want to know the truth about fitness, from workout fads to diet myths, hitting pads, power lifts. GymWits, GymWits, that's right.
Ryan,
Toni,
and
Crystal.
we can't guarantee that you're gonna look great, but if you want to stay in shape, well, you better hit the GymWits, GymWits. That's right, man. You tell 'em.
welcome to the GymWits podcast. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic.
And I'm Toni Marinucci, aka Tips with Toni, your registered dietitian.
And we are the GymWits. So usually before each episode, we kind of think, okay, how are we going to start this thing off? And Justin gave me two things to start off with, and I'm still debating which one to start. But I guess I'll go with the kind of more recent thing, which is we basically spent about an hour and a half with Justin like freaking out because his computer wasn't working. And he's going back and forth. He's like, I don't get this. I don't know what's going on. The computer's reading the mic, but the software's not working. He's freaking out. He's going back and forth. He can't figure out what's wrong. He's online. I'm trying to figure it out. Nothing seems to be fixed. And then at some point we mentioned the mute, like, that when you open up software, it asks you for permission to use a microphone. And so he realized, or he didn't realize, he just mentioned, oh, well, yeah, I clicked no because it just uses the internal mic. And no, it doesn't use the internal mic. So the whole problem was that he didn't give his software permission to use a microphone.
Yeah, and I don't even use that internal microphone, but whatever.
And see, if we had recorded this earlier, we wouldn't have the sirens in the background right now.
Yeah, of course. Now, as soon as we start,
as soon as we started, there were no sirens for the last like 3 hours that I've been here.
Yeah, but they somehow would
And
have
then
been there
all of a sudden,
if it was working.
Yeah, it's like I don't believe in like things happen for a reason or the universe does whatever, but like the sirens going off when we're recording is starting to make me think otherwise.
Yeah, of course. All right, so what's the second thing?
This place. Oh, you want me to talk? Okay, the second thing. Wow. We should. I was almost gonna say we should just re-record this, but no, let's just go with it.
It's too good.
All right. So the second thing. So Justin and I are MMA fans, and we occasionally will talk about it when there are bigger fights. And one of our heroes growing up, Randy Couture, who was like, his nickname was Captain America.
Yeah.
And
the natural.
The natural. And, kind of was supposed to be like the good guy of the sport. And maybe he still is, maybe he's not, depending on who you talk to. But I guess somebody released a solo sex tape featuring him. And Justin saw it fit to text it to me. So the problem was that the text is it's a picture, not a picture you want to show up on your phone right in the middle of a crowded subway. So I'm standing in the middle of a crowded subway. I'm listening to a podcast or something on my way here, and I feel the buzz on my phone, and I open it up, and there's naked Randy Couture on my phone in front of a bunch of people. What am I supposed to do? So
I just thought you might want to see it.
You couldn't wait? I was going to be here in like 10 minutes. Like I was 10 minutes away. You couldn't wait for that?
Who knows? It was just, the moment struck.
Yeah, it did. So then I basically started text because then I don't know how to. I guess I could delete the chat there, but I just started sending like text after text after text to kind of push the picture further up, so that when I open a text from Justin, that's not the first thing that pops up. And then Justin's asking me like 2 minutes ago, I was like, why do I have all these random weird texts from you? It's because I need the thing to go up.
So I did something today that I haven't done. I don't know if I've ever done this, but it's been a crazy day. My girlfriend's cat is sick, so we had to take him to the vet. And it was just a nutty day. So I'm waiting outside. I come out of the vet. I had to pick up something. And my girlfriend says to me, do you realize that you're wearing two different shoes? So I had actually walked out of the house wearing two different sneakers.
So
Oh my god!
I didn't even realize. And she's like, "You're wearing two different sneakers."
Do you have any stories, Toni,
I'm
for
sorry,
today?
but
Yeah.
I do not have any that can top that at
Well-
all. I
well-
definitely don't have any that can top that at all.
Well, you did bring like some equipment to record for Instagram, and it broke. So maybe that's Justin's fault too.
Yeah, I just think you guys are right now giving bad karma.
Pretty much.
Bad vibes. Bad
All right.
vibes, which actually goes into our topic,
Yeah.
which is like kind of
There we go.
perfect.
Well, yeah. So I guess I'll lead us into kind of what started. So I basically, long story short, I have a client friend, Isaac, and he's telling me about how he's getting into kind of affirmations and stuff. And not that I disagree with what he was doing, because the way he was going about it, I think was kind of the right way to go about it. But it got me thinking about the whole kind of positive thinking, world, and I just started thinking how much I dislike most of it. Not all of
Okay.
it, and I'll kind of explain what my thoughts are really on positive
Don't
thinking.
go into too
But
much.
I
So
kind of,
that's
I
what-
won't go into too much. But
All
but
right, we're
basically,
having a debate.
Yeah. But long story short is, I texted them like, hey, I feel like doing an episode on why positive thinking is BS. And then somehow it turned into a debate where I'll be debating Toni on positive thinking, and Justin will moderate. I don't know how this is gonna work. We have not planned anything for this, and so we'll just figure it out. But Justin said he has some good ideas, so I'm gonna trust that his earlier, I guess, chaos for the day is better, and we'll go with it. So,
Yep.
without further ado.
In this corner, we have the godless wonder, the spiritualist sultan who is deemed to live a dreary existence with no faith and no hope, Ryan George. And in this corner, we have a woman who was too nice to ever say anything bad, to ever talk smack, and she will never enjoy the feeling of actually talking about someone or something. Toni Marinucci. All right, so our debate today is on positive thinking and whether it is a good or bad thing, or maybe something in between, and we'll try to incorporate a little bit of how it may or may not affect your fitness, health, diet, all that stuff, because we are a podcast about fitness and health and diet. So, Ryan, the godless wonder, the floor is open to you. Give us your opening statement.
My opening statement. Just want everyone to know that this is not, we did not plan this.
Please stick to the topic.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're taking your job seriously. All right. So basically, no, so my issue, as in general, is obviously I don't think that being positive is a bad thing. I think that in general, it is better to be positive than to be negative. Although I'm going to get really negative about these stupid sirens, but no. So it's better to be positive than it is to be negative, generally. But my problem has to do more with kind of like that kind of the positive thinking movement, the secret, and these kind of ideas that you can kind of will your way to a better life. And I think that, there are reasons kind of evolutionarily for negativity to be there and to be dealt with. And I think that if there are potentially negative aspects to kind of just saying, oh, just look at the bright side of things. Just think positively. Don't worry about the negative. And so I find that that kind of aspect of the health,
30 seconds.
fitness, wellness world has kind of this pernicious effect. If you're so focused on positivity that you don't allow for people to really consider the negative, consider the consequences. And so that's my kind of, I guess, my opening statement, if that makes any sense.
Toni, the floor is yours.
Okay, my take on positive thinking is when you're thinking positive, you're not neglecting the bad things, the negative things, the potential things that could happen, but you're also not giving your energy towards that, because where you put your energy and your focus, that's where it's going to grow and going to manifest. So if you dwell on your problems, they're just going to stay there rather than thinking of a solution and thinking that there is another way out. Somehow, when you put your focus on that, things magically start to happen. I really think about like when I told myself that I wanted to get more into the public speaking space, I posted something on Instagram about it. Then my friend commented about Toastmasters. Now I'm doing these Toastmaster meetings, developing my public speaking. Through that, I learned about a program and I started taking it. And so here I am thinking like, how am I ever going to get in the space of public speaking? And now I have a gig booked for myself in January of me going there, being asked to speak at this event. And it wasn't until I started thinking that it was possible and putting it out there that was even a possibility for me. So when it comes to positive thinking, it's not saying that there's a reason why things won't happen. Like, I'm not living in a bubble. Things do happen in this world. But if you put your energy towards that and then in the negative, it's going to stay there. If you put your energy towards the positive and where your thoughts go, your actions follow.
Are you done? Take as much time as you need.
I thank you. I appreciate you giving me that time, but I am
Sure.
interested in what questions you have. So.
Of course. You want to retake that one? That's okay. Are you good with the answer?
Thank you. Thank you, Justin.
All right. So our first question, similar to what Toni mentioned. So when good things start to manifest, right? Or I don't want to necessarily be biased with the word manifest, but when things start to happen, is it a result of actual positive thinking, or are these things that would happen just because you're working towards it, you're in the field, and perhaps there's almost a placebo effect where you feel that things are happening, but it's really just because you're working? What do you think about that concept?
Yeah, so that's actually a good question. Not bad. So I think there's a bit of confirmation bias in it. Again, I think we're much closer than we are apart on it. I think I'm more like the cynic, and I get annoyed with I'm getting annoyed. I get annoyed with the kind of people that are trying to make cash in on this by kind of selling false hope. And so I think that's where I kind of take the more negative view. But what I think happens is it is confirmation bias. So there's no magical universe, that will send you opportunities if you hope for it. What's happening is random things happen all the time, all day to us, and we notice them. We notice things when we're kind of focused on it. So it's true that if you are positive or thinking about something, or you have a goal, it's absolutely great that you will notice and identify opportunities more than you will if you don't have that goal, if you don't have that thing in your life. So I don't think there's a big disagreement. I think that it's just kind of maybe coming from my perspective, it's again more confirmation bias. If you are focused on something, the universe will present it to, but it's just that it was there. You're just identifying it versus it kind of, if I think about the kind of secret approach where, if I think about it and I wish it to be, and I focus on it and I really think really hard, the universe is going to manipulate itself to happen. It's like, no, it's just, you're just noticing it. That's all. No, that doesn't. I'll say if my 5 seconds. That's not a bad thing, and it's not to say you shouldn't be positive about things. You shouldn't focus on it, but that kind of again, it's confirmation bias.
Your time is up, Toni. Your take.
You are horrible. Oh my god.
All right, well, I agree with Ryan in the sense that I think I hear what he's saying, that these good things are out there. We just have to pay attention to them. And so if we stay in that negative space, we're not going to be able to pay attention to them. So we have to think positively so we can see the opportunities that surround us. Going off of that, I would say that, can you just repeat the question? I just want to make sure I'm not going off topic.
So we are discussing whether or not things happening is a result of positive thinking,
the action, right,
or something discovered that could have been was there anyway.
Right. And
is there a placebo or confirmation bias effect if you are thinking positively about something?
I think part of it, though, and this is, you might call this like being a little like foo-foo or whatever, but I think part of it is believing in yourself. And so that creates that open-mindedness, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't believe that you can make more money, or you don't believe that you're deserving of making more money, you're not going to make more money, because you're not going to then open up your mind to thinking of possibilities of how you're going to do that. Do you need to put the work in? Absolutely. But you block out, it's like we are agreeing, but I'm curious, Ryan, why you believe it. Can you talk a little bit more about why you think it's so, why it bothers you so much?
Sure.
Don't interrupt her. I will ask the questions and tell you when you're allowed to speak.
Can I reply to the question?
You may.
All right. Okay. So my problem is it being kind of sold as a be all to end all. So that if you just think positive, if you just do these affirmations, that it treats it, it treats it almost as an end. Like, you think positive and it will happen. And I think it's a component. You think positive and that opens you up, that makes you happier. There's certainly there's plenty of research to suggest that positive thinking will, is beneficial and will help you with things. And I'm not saying like if you're negative on something to wallow in your negativity. I think it's more that it's sold often as just do this, just do these affirmations, just tell yourself you're great, you're good, think better about yourself, and everything's good. And sometimes there is more work needed. And so my issue more is about, I think it's oversold. I think it's important, but it's not that important. And I think for different people, there are going to be different strategies and approaches to accomplishing their life goals. So if you're somebody who deals with, let's say you deal with serious anxiety or serious depression or whatever, to just say, just think positive. I think it's both dismissive of the problem that those people might have. And I think that it again dismisses a larger issue. It causes further psychological issues for those people. So I think that, often that gets sold as this is the solution. Just think, be positive, just be happy. And there are certain situations where that's not the solution. And maybe the solution is you need to grieve, or you need to deal with your negativity, or you need to think about it. You need to face it. And then once you face it, you come out of it. And it's even been, I'm sorry if I'm going over, Justin, but it's been shown that if you let's say you have some negative feelings or negative thoughts, to just push that aside, it'll come back. So it's kind of like, again, it's my issue is with it being the be all to end all more so than being positive. Obviously I'm not like being negative. I'm probably one of the most optimistic and positive people I know, ironically, but I just don't like the way it's sold. And that, again, it's pitched as the be all to end all when I don't think it is.
Do you have a rebut?
I guess I guess there's a disconnect in the fact that, so feelings are feelings. They're not positive or negative. I think your reaction to those feelings could be positive or negative. And I think that's where we might be disagreeing a little bit, is like, I don't believe that people should dismiss their feelings. And I think that if you are feeling sad or angry or anxious, that's not wrong or bad or negative. That's just you feeling a certain way. And yes, I agree. Just by thinking, things are just going to get better because I'm telling myself they're going to get better. No, that's not going to work. But like going back to earlier, if you tell yourself things are going to get better, I believe they're going to get better, because I'm going to put the work into make it get better, then those solutions kind of come to you. So I think we're agreeing in some way.
So the next question is, we'll start with Ryan, and then we'll see what Toni has to say about this. If so many of the most successful people in various fields, the biggest entrepreneurs, politicians, athletes, people in the tech industry, so many of them will say that a key to their success has been positive thinking, has been an unwavering belief in themselves and what they're doing. And if so many people preach this idea, even if you can't pinpoint a scientific reason why this works, if that method has worked, how could it be wrong?
There are plenty of ways that it could be wrong. You just said it yourself. So the issue is...
I said that if the science can't prove it, but if the proof is in the pudding, if so many people has the system work for them, how could it be wrong?
Okay, so first, I don't want to say that. So you're using anecdotes, which that's not. If you're talking science, that's not.
You're not arguing with me.
I'm not.
I'm just putting it out there.
Your point uses anecdotes. Now, I will say I think anecdotes are still important, so I don't want to just dismiss that out of hand. But that might be a feature of what it takes to become massively successful, and then what the idea of success then is something different. And if you can there are plenty of very, very successful people who grab the bull by the horns, who did all that, who also suffer from serious issues, who also are extremely negative. I think that if you look at the common quality, it sounds like what you're talking about is kind of financial success, right? And if you look at the common thread, I think the common thread has more to do with maybe upbringing first, hard work, innovation, things like that. And I'm not discounting the importance of the hard work, but I don't know that if you said to them, I guarantee you not one of them sat down and just thought, the positive thinking wasn't the thing, it was the work. it was the hard work. And so I would argue that that idea of, and again, I'm going back to the idea of just will it to be, think it and it'll happen. I would argue that most people don't have that mentality. And again, the common thread in success is hard work.
So I'm going to ask a follow-up question.
And innovation.
If their positive thinking allows them to work hard, if it allows them to stay focused, how is that a negative?
Well, I don't believe you've got to prove to me that that they subscribe, that so many really subscribe to that it's, and I'm not saying just be positive, like that's different from that. But even if it was, I'll grant you that everyone in Fortune 500, all the top billionaires in the country, let's say they all subscribe to that. That still doesn't mean that that's the key to a good life and a healthy life. And again, for a lot of those people, that isn't the healthy. Some of the most successsul people, they have tons of the amount of time that you're spending working, the time away from your family. That it's success financially, but who's to say it's actual life success, and who's to say that's something that everyone could do? Because not everyone's going to be a billionaire. So if you're telling, if I'm going to sell a book to 5 million people, 5 out of all 5 million that buy it, only 1 or 2 of you are actually going to become quote unquote successful, then I'm being disingenuous with what I'm doing. So, you if you want to subscribe kind of, if you're going to subscribe kind of an outlook for en masse for a large group of people, you don't then prescribe them how to behave based on what a very, 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 very small percentage, 0.0001% of the population will actually ever achieve. Does that make sense?
That's not for me to decide. Toni, your thoughts on the matter.
Okay. Well, I think you made a really valid point that a lot of people who are very successful are positive thinkers. I think that they made the decision that there's kind of like no other way. My question is like, if you want a positive thinking, negative thinking, whatever, but if we're talking about like happiness as success, maybe not financial success, like having negative thoughts and feelings and allowing those to take over most of your life and be your driving force, that doesn't feel good. So, I mean, you could stay there, take it. I choose not to stay in the negative. I don't dismiss them. I recognize them, but I choose to be positive because life is just happier and better, and life's too short to be in that negative mindset. So that's my take on it. Whether you're successful or not, whatever your views are in financial success, happiness, health, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just truly believe that a positive thinker is usually a happier person.
So is it okay to do things that might be considered, spiritual, astrological, maybe lighting a candle because you think that it will bring you good luck, or doing something, an odd thing, putting something under your pillow because it will bring you better health? Is it okay to do something like that, or do you think that just it's actually getting you away from the actions that will get you to the goal that you want?
I think rituals are a really powerful thing, and I think it can be a form of prayer for some people. If it's all you're focusing on, and once again, you're not putting any work in towards what you want, that's a different story. But like, some people pray every morning, and that's their way to focus on God or whatever spiritual being, whatever they believe in, and it's their moment to focus on kind of maybe showing gratitude, what they're thankful for. It brings the focus to that. Other people, I know, like my friend, he wears these beads, and he takes the beads off, he kisses them, puts them on the table, and that's just like his thing, right? So whether that's right or wrong, or whether it's going to bring him luck or not, it does remind him like, okay, slow down a minute. Let me think about something. I don't know what he's, in that moment, but let me focus on something. And that kind of brings you back to you, because we're so constantly like focused on other people doing other things. We forget about ourselves. We become entangled in just life. So I believe rituals really help center us. And so that can be one way to stay focused on kind of what we want and what we need.
Ryan, your opinion on rituals?
They're fine. I think, as you know, I'm not fond of them personally. Although I think we all, in some weird ways, even us, card carrying atheists still find ways to incorporate rituals into our daily lives. So, but I think if it makes you feel better, it's fine. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm for negativity and again, that you wallow in it, but more that there are often other solutions or ways to work around it rather than just like, just be positive about everything. And the ultimate goal is happiness. The ultimate goal is kind of to be stress-free or relatively to be content, to be free from kind of pain and anxiety or as much as you can. But I think there are other ways to go about it. And I think again that I'm going a little bit of a tangent. So, but to answer your question, Justin, I think if rituals make you feel better, great. I think if the line I would draw, and unfortunately it happens with plenty of people, is when those rituals do affect your daily life, and that maybe you put the rituals ahead of your actual well-being. I think that's where it's a problem. But again, that's not my choice to make unless it affects somebody else, or it affects, someone, if they're affecting other people, their children or people that are kind of not complicit or don't consent or not unable to. I think that's when it becomes a problem to me. But otherwise, like if you're doing it, it makes you happy and it makes you feel better and it makes life easier. Sure, go for it.
So then, Ryan, why, when you participate in Muay Thai, do you do the bow and the hands together thing if you're not into rituals?
I just told you that I participate in rituals that, even though...
I don't know, you said
and
they
again,
weren't your thing.
So you have to understand. So rituals aren't my thing.
I know, it's a matter of
but
respect.
Respect is important. And there is a sense of belonging and community and that comes with being within a certain group. And so when you're in that group, you do abide by certain of the rituals,
Sure.
And so I think that's just kind of part of it. So
okay, so the next question is positive thinking something that we should instill in our children, in the youth? Right?
I think we want kids to have good self-esteem. We want them to be excited about what they do. And, again, there's plenty to back up that, being positive, for example, about math will cause kids to do better in math. So we definitely, I think you want to encourage it, but you don't want people to feel bad for not being happy. And so I think that's, or not being positive about things. So I think that's where, that's where I get worried. So that, there are situations, again, where if somebody is not happy in a situation where they feel like they should be happy, or if someone's in a situation where other people expect them to be happy and they're not, it makes them feel worse. So you don't want that kind of social anxiety of having to fit in, so, and again, there might be other issues. So if there are other issues, that the response should be, if you're dealing with really bad anxiety and you're not positive about it, it's not to say just deal with it and wallow in it, but you might have to deal with it. But dealing with it may be seeking professional, maybe medication, it may be any number of things, but it may not be just think better about it. It's easy to say that when you're, again, like me, I don't have many issues relating to that. Like I'm pretty positive, I'm pretty optimistic. Even when I'm really stressed, I'm generally thinking about the way out and the bright side. And it's very rare for me to kind of stick with negative thoughts for long. It happens to everybody, but for me, a couple days maybe, and I'm fine, even, in really rough times. But, because somebody doesn't have that, and I know plenty of people don't, my response isn't, if they should just be positive about things and they'll be fine. No, there may be a larger issue that they have to deal with. And so then, I want them, you have to find out. Again, it might be medication, it might be certain strategies, it might be therapy, or any number of things. So I think I just get worried that the kind of positivity thing becomes like the be all to end all in a situation like that. Well, you gave me time to speak.
Yeah. So I hear what he's saying. I do. And I actually have to admit to the fact that when I was younger, I was the one that put on that happy face and hid behind a smile a lot. So I do believe that. I felt like I had to be strong because everyone around me was kind of crumbling, and it's a very real thing and also it's like, you don't want to be perceived as weak, right? So I think a lot of times maybe complaining or being sad or not being happy, like I should be happy, right? I come from a good family, my family was well off, like I should be happy, but why wasn't I happy? So then you start to feel that pressure. So I completely agree, and I think in children especially, there should be room for them to speak up and talk about things when they're not feeling happy, because it's definitely very normal. You're trying to figure out who you are, what your purpose is in this world, and there's going to be a lot of negative feelings associated with that. At the same time, there is a lot of negativity in this world. And so I think the lesson should always be that although whatever you're going through right now is painful, it's not going to be there forever. And so you have to seek an outlet. You have to seek something that's going to change the kind of the trajectory of where you're going. And so once again, you're not dismissing it, but you're not allowing them to stay there, because when they stay there, unfortunately, that's where really bad things happen. That's where kids start to use drugs. That's where they contemplate suicide. That's where, really they run away from home or school or whatever it is. Like, real serious things can happen if they stay in that negative place. So you have to let them know that what they're going through is normal, but there's solutions to their problems and they don't have to stay in that.
Okay, the next question is about turning positive thinking into a means of income, where you have lots of writers from all walks of life talking about how they changed their, they changed their health, they changed their mindset, they changed their fitness through positive thinking. Is it okay for people to sell this concept? I guess it's okay. I mean, not is it okay? Should they be allowed? Of course, because it's a free country where we live. But is it morally the right thing to do?
So I think it's much like supplements. Selling in the supplement industry, where legally I guess you should, but you really need to be careful about the claims that you make. And I think morally it is akin to the supplement industry. So I think what happens far too often is a lot of these kind of self-help, kind of positive thinking books and ideas, they tend to fall almost in like the kind of pop psychology or kind of pseudo psychology realm. And so they talk about things from an angle that makes it seem scientific when it's not. And I think that's the difference. So, again, I said earlier, anecdotes matter. And, I might have a lived experience that maybe science doesn't back up, but maybe if it worked for me, it'll probably work for somebody. And so there's value in that. And I'm not trying to take away that value, but I think when you start to use certain language that makes it seem scientific when it's not, that's where I think it's immoral. That's where I think it's problematic. So I think a lot of it is in how it's sold. And, and in some cases, like, again, the ones that say like, never let any negative thoughts enter your mind. I think those are just crazy. And, you could say whatever the hell you want, but it's just dumb. Like you can't live a life like that. There's so many reasons why you can't, it doesn't make any sense. But, even for the ones that are more rational, I think there is a problem if you're selling it as scientific and it's not really scientific, or it's based on pseudoscience, or based on kind of a couple little studies that maybe weren't done well. So I think it can be often it is immoral, again, depending on how it's framed.
Hey, Tone?
Okay, so I have two things to say about this, and yes, they're sort of like anecdotes. But so the first thing is I'm actually reading You Are a Badass You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen, since I can't say her last name. But anybody who's listening to this, a lot of people, especially if they're like online coaches or in, some sort of, you're an entrepreneur, you're probably listening to personal development books on the regular basis. And that is definitely a book that I would encourage you to listen to and to read. And you probably, people that listen to this podcast probably have already listened to it. And so she does talk a lot about that, about kind of putting it out there, like saying it out loud. I want to make $100,000 a year, and continuing to believe that you have that $100,000, and you put it in your head and you put it in your head. And, but the other part to it is she does say like, okay, that creates, going back to what we were talking about in the beginning, that creates that kind of now opportunities. You're starting to see them. You're starting to put the work in. You have to work for it. It's not just going to come there. But it is a lot based off of like I'm going to do it. I'm going to, and believing it and kind of manifesting it and stuff like that. The other part I'll say to it is like, when I think about my own personal weight loss journey, I never thought, honestly, I'm telling you, I remember someone, I was told me like, you would, not that people should really say this, but they're like, you at your height, you'd be really good at 155, like your weight at 155. And at that time, I think I was like 175, and I was always really fit, but like really fit, but it didn't, like, aesthetically, it just wasn't there. Right. And I was like, I mean, I feel like if I focused on my portions a little better, like maybe I could get to like 165, but like 155, that's like not for me. And then I started kind of working towards it, working on it. And then I started to realize like, you know what, I could. So I made that goal. I was like, I'm going to get to 155. So what did I do? All of a sudden I hired a coach. The coach helped me. We worked on things. Opportunities presented themselves where I got a trainer that was able to train me for free. And it was like really cool stuff that just started kind of popping up and happening. And like, hello, this morning I was 155. And like, I worked my ass off. Excuse me. I know we're not cursing on this podcast, but I worked really hard. But I didn't even believe in the past, I didn't even believe it. So I didn't create the opportunity for me to even create it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I think that there's a big part of positive thinking is that belief that you can, and then putting the action in. Like, that's what I think we both agree on, Ryan, is like, there has to be action there. So like, yeah, just like saying, yeah, be positive or just think you can do it. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. But if you think positively, all of a sudden you're like I was saying earlier, where your thoughts go, your actions follow.
All right. So speaking of, what is or can positive thinking affect your health, fitness, how you work out, how you diet, right? And sort of almost like conversely, what can someone really achieve high levels of fitness or, maintaining a real healthy diet through negative thinking?
So first, I'm not an advocate of negative thinking. It's like
it's
like my stepson. Like we argue all the time, and he's like super libertarian, and so he just assumes because I'm not for 100% free market, he's just like, oh, you must be a communist then if you're not for 100% free market. Like I'm not about negative thinking. It's just that again, it's more about it's a case by case, and that. Again, positive thinking is not always the answer to everyone, everyone's problems. And again, it takes hard work. And what was your question?
It was about the effects of positive thinking, or I'm not going to say negative thinking, but a lack of positive thinking and its effects on fitness, working out, maintaining a healthy diet, those types of things.
So I would say it's like, to me, the question is active positive thinking versus being a positive person or being, so you think about it like, am I going to advocate for people to just go home right now and tell yourself, and really focus on positivity and think about how great you're? No. Like, are you competent at something? How's your self-esteem? How do you feel? Are you happy? Are you not happy? And then you can make those decisions. Like, I think that, to me, positive thinking, and I think this is the issue, is as a quote, like as kind of an intervention, a lifestyle intervention.
Please respond to the question. It was about fitness and diet. So I don't hear anything about what those words.
So look. As an intervention to get more fit, I think it's relatively useless. I think it might be useful if you, let's say, are the small percent that does kind of respond to it, that you're negative, but then by focusing and constantly chanting it and telling it to yourself, if you respond to it, great. If it works for you, great. But I don't think it works as a kind of prescription for life. I think, again, are you happy? Are you not? If you're not, why are you not happy? What's going on in your life? Are you not where you want to be? If you're not where you want to be, where do you want to be? Focus on that. So I think that there are practical things you can do, and that don't require you to focus on being a more positive person. Because I think that as life gets better or things go the way you want, you will be a more positive person. If you have low self-esteem, work on that. You will be a more positive person by that. So I think that's the thing, is that being a positive person, I think, is more of it's an end. It's not the means to the end. And I think that we're using it as the means to an end, but it's ineffective mostly to me. And sure, there are going to be a lot of people that it does work well for, but I don't think that it's the solution. I think there are far better strategies for people to use to, again, this is all about enhancing your life. And I think just focusing on being positive is a bit redundant. Like, there are other things you can do to make your life better, which will make you more positive.
Don't?
Oh, that took me an hour to figure that out.
Okay. All right. So, initially, when people start to exercise regularly and eat healthy, it usually comes from a negative place. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is people can never really stick to a plan because that negative kind of vibe stays there. And let me explain. So you're overweight, you're insecure, you feel uncomfortable in your skin, you can't get your diet together, you're beating yourself up about it, you feel like crap, so you decide, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to start eating healthy, right? You go to the gym, you're hating your body, you feel uncomfortable in the gym, you don't know what's going on. It's very negative. It's all negative. You go to this party now, you think you're going to eat healthy, you overeat, so you go back to the gym, you're beating yourself up because you're mad at yourself because you overate, and that vicious cycle continues. That will you might eventually grow from that space and start to feel a little bit better, start to eat a little bit healthier. But it isn't until you decide that I'm going to the gym on a regular basis because I love my body that you're going to also start to feel good about yourself. So helping that self-esteem aspect, the self-esteem part will always stay negative if you're always going to the gym to beat yourself up because you can't get your diet together or because you don't like the way you look at yourself in the mirror. And that's exactly what I help my clients with. It's teaching them that you have to believe that you're doing this because you care about yourself, because your body is a beautiful thing and it's working for you now, but it can work for you better if you believe that you can and you work towards it. Now, what I will say is if you have that mindset of, oh, I screwed up, so I'll just get back on track. Oh, I screwed up, I just get back on track, but you're continuously off track, then that's where positive thinking can kind of ruin you and it's never really going to help you. But if you're honest with yourself and you recognize, okay, listen, I had an extra cookie, not the big deal. I'm going to eat, my veggies. I'm going to get my workout in because I'm thankful that I'm still in this good place and I know that I can get to the goal that I want to get to. You're more likely to be successful when you have that headspace rather than you're just going from a negative place and you're beating yourself up and not really checking in and being honest with yourself.
Right,
okay.
I agree with everything Toni said, but nothing she said required positive thinking about
yes,
like
it does.
no, none of it required being positive about your body and about yourself, but none of it required
How are you not thinking about yourself?
None of it required you actively kind of being like actively saying, I'm going to be better. I'm going to make my body better. Okay. Yes, it's but then I'll say another thing is now we're
getting down to the good stuff.
I don't agree that people have to, and I don't agree that it does happen that people people do just make that decision to love their bodies and love themselves. But I don't believe that's common. I think most people that do go through a massive transition are unhappy with themselves and they make the commitment to changing it. But I don't think that they make that decision to love themselves in the moment and then make the change. I think that change happens over time.
Well, I do agree with you. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be negative, you're not going to be happy. So you can have this fit body and you can look better and get success, but is that really successful if you're not happy?
But remember I said earlier that the end is being positive. And so with the changes in your body or the changes in your financial situation or the changes in whatever, that does bring your happiness because that was the goal that you wanted. Now, I think that there are further issues if your own self-esteem is tied directly to how you look. There may be other issues that are unresolved, but I still think that if the end is being happy and it's tied to something, you get there and then that makes you happy. I don't think that being happy, it's not like, all right, I have a goal, I'm here, I'm unhappy, and I have a goal.
All right,
I'm going to get happy, then get
now.
to my goal. It's usually I get to my goal and then I get happy.
It's the process, and this is what I talk about a lot. It's saying you're going to do something and then doing it and committing to doing it and proving yourself that you can do it each time, and that confidence builds from that.
So totally
it's through the process.
Agreed.
Right? So you have to have some sort of positive thinking involved to keep you going and motivating to get to that point.
Sure, but it doesn't need to be active. I mean, it's something you need to be confident. You need to be. See, I think we're looking at different things. I think that the positive thinking is being confident and excited about it and being kind of having a positive outlook. But I don't think, again, that you need to state, affirmations and that you need to really incorporate any of that kind of positive thinking movement into your lifestyle. It's just that if you are positive about the program and about what you're doing and you have your goals and you're focused on your goals, I think that's more important. I think with anybody, with any fitness program, the key to any fitness program is consistency. It's not positivity. And now the positivity will help with actually two keys are consistency and motivation. And being positive does help with the motivation. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but there are ways to keep yourself motivated there, which then keeps you positive, which then keeps you consistent. So, again, we're in the same area. I just think, like, again, I wouldn't prescribe one of those self-help kind of programs. So that's my thing, is that I just don't think it's necessary to get somebody to be positive. Like, you can be positive without the stupid positive thinking movement. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Tone?
I don't know. He lost me on that last comment.
All right. So now time for, probably just did this, but time for your closing arguments. Ryan, your final statement?
I don't know.
All right, Tony, now your turn. You may close the discussion.
Ryan, you done? You got...
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Okay. This world has so much negativity in it that there is no reason why, if you have any sort of positive vibes in you, that you should put your energy towards that negativity, because where your energy goes, where your thoughts go, your energy flows. So if you put your thoughts on positive thinking, trust that good things will happen to you. That's all I have to say.
Well said.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our debate for today. The winner is Toni. So what do you think about me holding the next debate for a presidential election?
It depends on which side you're on, actually. But yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Our next debate has to be about, remember we talked about how eating healthy is expensive, and you were going to...
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
We could do that.
We should do that next time.
I wonder which side I'll take.
You're probably not going to take my side.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
You could switch.
We'll see.
You have to
I'll
be
pay you off.
non-biased.
I am.
Yeah, right.
Completely. All right. So, yeah, it was just crazy with the sirens. We actually had to stop the recording because the sirens got so intense.
Yeah.
It was insane. But,
What else
of
is
course,
there?
the second we get it up and rolling, right? But it is what it is. All right. Take us home, Ryan.
So all of our stuff is at thegymwits.com. Our social media, everything, the Instagrams, the _ GymWits, Facebook, the GymWits. Check us out all there. Now that we're in the new year, we are really trying to get some more stuff up. We've got some stuff on YouTube, or should have some stuff on YouTube. Really making a push to add all the content that we've been saying we're going to add, but we never do add. So hopefully our New Year's resolution is to be more positive about our content and put more stuff up.
Nice.
All right, so that's it. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, aka Chef Sonic, reminding you to both think positively and that truth does not sell, but positivity does.
I'm Toni Marinucci, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. Tips to Toni. I don't know. I haven't done this in a while. It's been a while.
And we are the GymWits.